Hey everyone, James Niggemeyer here. Thank you for tuning back into my YouTube channel. Please excuse the mess that I have going on the deck of my Ranger boat. I'm trying to get ready for the next MLF Pro Circuit event coming up. So it's a little bit chaotic, but I wanted to start a new series. I wanted to bring to you a series called Two Bait Tuesday. So obviously we're gonna choose two baits that I feel like are seasonally relevant wherever you are in the country. But here we are, we've moved out of February, we're into March, like March 2nd. What we have is fish are kind of in transition. You have some fish, depending upon where you are geographically, you have some fish that are pre-spawn, heavy pre-spawn, late winter. Then other areas you have fish actually on beds. If you talk about Florida, you have fish on beds. So these are gonna be two baits that if I could only have two, these are the ones that I would have. And I feel like within every region of the country, these would be two baits where I feel like I could get bit. This keeps in line with my keep it simple type mindset where, you know, really we could really think of a lot of different baits that could fit into this first week of March time frame. Here in Northeast Texas, just about 2 weeks ago, less than 2 weeks ago, we had ice and snow on the ground. So generally March is further along than it is, but we have cold water, a lot of runoff. We just had another rainstorm here, pretty widespread. I think it was from like Laredo, Texas, all the way to Canada. Big old band that's kind of moving across the country, dropped a lot of rain, a lot of cold rain, had a cold night. So we're not as far along as we maybe typically would be in a typical year. But the baits I want to talk about are baits that I feel like will work in a wide variety of areas wherever you are in the country. With that, let's get right into it. My number one bait for this time of year, a lipless crankbait. I mean, you've heard it said, people have talked about it. It's such a tremendous winter into spring, late winter, early spring, pre-spawn type bait that will catch fish in a lot of different water temperatures. Depending upon where you are in the country, you're gonna have some really, maybe some high 40s, maybe low 40s, you can catch them on a lipless crankbait. You might be in the mid 50s, catch them on a lipless crankbait. You might be in a clearer water impoundment, catch them on a lipless crankbait. You might be like where I live, where we have grass in the water and different various colors of water. Lipless crankbait is gonna catch them. Varying the retrieve speed, and obviously varying the depth in the water column by just slowing down the way you retrieve that handle or letting it sink to the bottom on a slack line, or maybe just lowering your rod tip. Different things like that to elevate or lower the lipless crankbait in the water column will really help you get the bait to the fish and be more productive. This one that I've got on is a Strike King Red Eye Shad, and if I was gonna have a few different colors, if you would allow me to have a few different colors, I would definitely have a crawfish color. This is Delta Red, or Rayburn Red would be good. Some places in the country, your more golds and your gold blackback, your gold Tennessee shad, that would be good. And then there's some places that the lakes you're fishing are more shad driven. And then in that case, I'm gonna reach for something like a sexy shad, just a white or pearlish white colored bait for fish that are more shad driven, or what I mean by shad driven, they are preying on shad. So that's kind of some of the colors that I would use. The places I would look for is rocks, ripraps, transitions from a certain type of chunk or bottom substrate to another, maybe to more gravel or more mud to clay, clay to rock, rock to, you know, bigger, large riprap, different things like that. Places where there's a transition line. Another place where I would look is places where you have deep water coming up next to the bank and it flattens out. Those transition areas, whether they're on the main lake or in a creek a distance in, these are some places, and even a ditch or drain that comes out of a flat. Basically you have a flat and then there's a ditch where if the lake was drained, you would see this low spot in a meadow or a flat. Those are places where I would try to fish this lipless crankbait. Obviously the lipless crankbait's got rattles, or it's got a knocking type device, sound device inside it. Those rattles with the tight wobble, just so good in that cooler water period where the fish are starting to go to think about moving towards beds, but just basically that transition from winter into spring, lipless crankbait. The other bait I would have to have, and it's probably because I love jig fishing, but it's got to be a jig. And I would probably go with a 1/2 ounce. A 1/2 ounce, maybe I would go with a 3/4, depending upon obviously depth. But I would dress it up with a chunk style trailer. This is a Strike King KVD chunk, and this is their skip-in jig, just black and blue. Seems like when you're in that wintertime period, moving into the springtime period, those darker colors seem to really work well. And it might be because you've had all this runoff, the water's a little bit dirtier, different things like that. But low and slow and down on the bottom, frequent pauses, maybe some hops. Sometimes they want to hop, and I'm going to be looking for areas where there's a drop off, either steeper areas or drop offs. Even under docks, deeper docks would work well, brush piles, different places where the fish would be either tucked up against cover, but also being able to move in the water column. So maybe some timber near a creek channel, different places like that. And also works extremely well anywhere you have rock. Same scenario like the red eye shad or the lipless crankbait. You can fish the jig in and around rock. So it's kind of a twofold. So if I feel like those fish are going to be more aggressive, I'm going to have a lipless crankbait. So I would, in this series, I want to choose 2 different types of baits. So one that's maybe a, winding type bait or a reactionary type bait, and then one that's more finesse and more subtle. That's the general rule. As a rule for this video series, that's what I want to do. But the jig would be great, the black and blue. I like the chunk, doesn't have a lot of action. It's just kind of flowing back behind there as it's falling, subdued in its action. It doesn't give off a lot of action, but the water's cold. Nothing really is moving very fast. So the chunk, definitely the way to go. If I was fishing in clear water, I might go with a green pumpkin, and I might take like a Strike King rodent and actually thread it on the jig. That's what I mean by thread it on. Run it up the shank of the jig, and then you have a little bit of a more compact silhouette as opposed to the whole jig chunk. Still a big profile, but a little bit more of a compact silhouette and a little bit more bulk that you're adding to it because of the body of that rodent as it's threaded back up on there. But clear water, the green pumpkin, more dirtier water, the black and blue. So that way, if you're in an area of the country where you have more stained water, a lot of runoff, just as a whole, you might be fishing an area where there's just more stain. I'm definitely going to reach for the black and blue, or on overcast days or dark days or rainy days, that black and blue. And then on the clear days and the brighter days and in those clear waters, the green pumpkin. Those are the 2 baits that I would choose for this time of year. That's your 2 bait Tuesday. 2 baits that I feel like if I only could have 2, one that would be more of a moving type bait, reactionary type bait, and then another that would be more subtle and more bottom bouncing. So those are the 2 baits that I would choose for this time of year. Things are changing as we move through. Weather patterns are going to affect different things, but low and slow on the bottom on the jig, and then vary or retrieve on the lipless crankbait. But that's it for now, guys. Before I let you go, I've been doing my series, my tournament vlog on Lake Okeechobee, which was the first tournament, the first stop for the MLF Pro Circuit. And I've noticed that I'm not getting a lot of views. I know guys do like it. Guys have commented, they like the series. But let me know, because I know that I'm not getting a lot of views. Let me know what you guys think. If you like the tournament vlog series, let me know. Please weigh in on that topic. I'd love to hear from you. Please drop a comment down in the comment section. And I hope you like this new series, this 2 Bait Tuesday. I'm going to try to bring one to you each week of the year. So thank you for watching my YouTube channel. If you haven't already subscribed, please go ahead and hit the subscribe button. And if you like the content I'm bringing out, please hit the like button. And until next time, thanks for watching and good fishing.